All right. And if, let's see, who's here? We have a few. Let's begin. So we are now covering key 19, the sun. And we're entering the final chapters of our little tarot book. So thinking about all that I've learned from the previous keys and how much they've changed my life, I realize that there are so many people that I have to thank. Those many that made the effort to share the rest with the rest of us. So the story goes, so we'll talk about these people. The story goes that God first taught the Kabbalah to the angels before the world was created. We humans received it 3 times after that. We're really a stubborn lot, aren't we? The archangel Raziel gave it to Adam and Eve as they were leaving the Garden of Eden. The Kabbalah was given to them so that they could find our way back to paradise, the perfect GPS system. After a while, people lost interest in paradise and were far more interested and preoccupied with the mundane world. The directions were lost, nothing had been written down, no backup made, no Google search. Oops. That was it. God did not give up. Abraham, as part of God's covenant with him, got the Kabbalah next. Once again, not written down. He verbally passed it on, but the information was lost while his heirs were living in Egypt. Finally, Moses was contacted and he received it. This was shortly after the time he went up the mountain and got the 10 Commandments. He had come back down and rested. The story goes that he was called back up again. With the Kabbalah revealed to him, and as an old wise man, he wrote it all down to give to his priests. Yay, finally got written down. So all of this is the, quote, tradition. The exact story is lost. His priests were a bit distracted at the time. So the downside to the story was that he hid what he had written in a cave. The good news, a few centuries later, it was found. Then it was published as the Sefer Yetzirah, or Book of Formation, or Book of Creation. In 2004, a translation by Knut Stenring was published, which I've found to be very helpful. And I've referenced this book throughout the cards. I'm always going back, Book of Formation or Book of Creation, Sefer Yetzirah. And I think I even have a picture of the book on one of the cards of what it looks like. So I found his translation to be quite informative and easy to follow. Therefore, let's continue our exploration of the tarot. So key 19, the sun, symbolizes the 5th stage of spiritual unfoldment called regeneration. And let me move us over a little. And let's look at, if I can get a grasp of this. So the 5th stage is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's these cards. So we're going to start covering these cards. So this is called the 5th stage of spiritual unfoldment, called regeneration. So key 19, the sun, symbolizes this 5th stage. We'd made it almost to the top of the mountain on the last card, the moon. So we're almost up here. Through the use of meditation, plus learning how to create correct suggestions to our subconscious mind, both our body and our mind have been reorganized. And we've talked about that, how the body and the mind are not separate from spirit, that actually everything is mind. And therefore, you both You can't just reorganize yourself to become more aware of spirit. The body gets dragged through the whole thing too. And so we've covered cards that have discussed that. We are now prepared to enter into a new state of awareness of our true inner nature. We will also have a fuller realization that we are an integral part of the cosmos. This we will find on key 19. The Sun card is the bottom card of 3 cards in the 5th column of the tarot tableau. So we'll cover this. The first card at the top is the Teacher, key 5. He is the principle of regeneration, which expresses itself through the agency or activity of the second card in the column, called the Suspended Man, key 12. So he's expressing through this card. And then the result of this activity is the Sun, key 19. So let's see how this works. It all sounds really good, but let's see how that works. The identity and function of the Teacher card is that of hearing. If you recall, his little ear is showing here. That of hearing our inner self. The word intuition means instruction from within ourselves. So this isn't reasoning. It's not like a hunch, but instead it's receiving information, which is accurate, by having learned how to quiet your mind. A noisy mind will never hear him. Another way of hearing within us is to just wonder about something. So you can hold something in your hand or an object or a concept and wonder about it, and then be quiet and wait to hear information about it. So it would be like going to Google, typing in something, and then it produces an answer. In this case, you have the entire universe at your fingertips. Oh, joy. And therefore, if you wonder about something, like the orange exercise, you get information given to you either in pictures or words or feelings. So wondering is very important. And when you wonder about something, it also tends to quiet your mind. So below the Teacher card is the Suspended Man, who is a demonstration of the law of reversal. Because we currently only operate from our material 5 senses, his condition seems to be a bit odd to us. Our entire awareness of everything in our lives up to this point only comes to us via our 5 senses. So the obstacles or gatekeepers to our being fully aware of the spirit of life within us and all around us are all of our 5 bodily senses. Interesting, I put in the word gatekeepers because they also keep you out. So we have obstacles, but also they're keeping us away from the entire universe and our ability to deal with it. Reminds me of the Bhagavad Gita and Arjuna talking to Krishna and asking Krishna, well, reveal yourself to me. I'd really like to see who you really are. And the next thing he knows, there's this flash of lightning and storms and and it's just, he goes, okay. And he crawls down on the bottom. He crawls down at his feet and says, okay, enough. I don't want to see all that. I can't handle it. It's too much. So part of your senses growing, because all your senses start in the spirit. You don't acquire or gain spiritual senses. You have spiritual senses which are manifesting in the physical. So you've already got them. It's just as we raise the Kundalini force up your spine, those spiritual senses are activated more. But the raising of the Kundalini doesn't occur unless you can physically handle it. So there's this balance you have to start to create in your life. And that's when we look at the tree of life diagram, we understand about balance, because there's two sides to it and then there's the center. So what we are doing is we are preparing ourselves. We are ripening ourselves. That's a magical term, so that we can actually get all of that in power, force, and energy and be comfortable with it. So all you see is all there is the consciousness of most people on the planet Earth. As you start to realize that that's just the result of what all there is, you become familiar with it, you grow accustomed to it, you begin to trust it, trust creation, and then you can speak and see yourself creating. So the suspended man teaches us how to wake them up by creating and using silence. By doing so, we are able to land on the sun card in a regenerated state. How nice. By the time you arrive on the sun card with the skill acquired from the suspended man, you are at the stage of the hermit. You can clearly hear the teacher at all times, and you have acted upon his directions in order to reach the state of illumination. You fully get how to work with your subconscious mind, also known as your secret agent. So at this point, you've acquired the skill to be able to control all of the material world around you. Wow. You, both in spirit and physically, are now a true vehicle or receptacle for the one force of the cosmos to operate through. But at this point, you still see yourself as a separate entity. We're not at the edge of the journey, not at the end of the journey yet. I was just thinking of the walking on water thing. When you get the walking on water thing down, give me a call. Because that's what you're heading to in this, in studying the tarot, the mystical teachings. You're learning how to operate your car and be the God being that you are. So let's see how the symbology of the card supports and conveys these ideas. Start with the number 19. So let's get our little person over here. Okay, come over here. Sometimes they just don't want to be picked up. There we go. And let's move us over here. Then we can follow this more readily, I hope. All right. So you see the number 19 down here. What in Hebrew, let's see. Start with the number 19. The power 9 is operating through the number 1. The activity of a number is always right to left. It's because you read Hebrew right to left. In other words, the hermit key is operating through the magician key, number 1. The hermit is universal will, which is the free willpower of the all. The magician expresses personal self-consciousness. That's you and me. We are each personal self-consciousness, and there's no two people alike, like snowflakes. The next step is to put this together so you can see that the free universal willpower of the cosmos is operating through or on the stage of personal self-consciousness on this card. You can do this simple two-step exercise with all of the tarot key numbers that contain 2 numbers to get an idea as to what is happening on any of these cards. You may wish to go back to the previous cards and try it out. So besides the name, let me move this over. Oh, see what happens? I do these things and then I lose the cards. It's there, hiding behind. Oh joy doing this. Okay, I think I've got enough room now. There we go. Yay. Besides the name and the number associated with each card at the bottom of the picture, we also have 4 other symbols or pictures identified with each card located in the lower right-hand corner. So we've gone over that, and here you have them, and we'll talk about them. They are supplied to help you understand what is being expressed by a particular card. For the Sun key, we have the Hebrew letter Resh, and we have the letter meaning, which is head or face. So there's a little face, and there's the Hebrew letter Resh. Then we have the ruling planet of this card, which is the sun. There's a symbol for the sun. And we have the ruling zodiacal sign for this card, which is Leo. So you have this symbol for Leo down here. Having these helpful hints makes it a whole lot easier to grasp what's going on. So even if you're sitting there with the cards, you don't necessarily have to have a book. If you have the card in front of you, and Mother Ruth, Helen Blyton, designed the cards with these little symbols in the corner to make it easier for people to just look at the cards without having to go look up what are the associations. So these tarot lessons were created before man could read or write. They were verbally passed on. Mankind used the annual cycles of the earth and the movements of the heavens, the planets and stars, plus the magical qualities that he learned about nature and the cultural nature of his fellow man to create the lessons taught here. So this is where someone sat and looked at nature and wondered about it and received information about it and wrote it down and put it in these pictures, which are called the tarot keys. That's also true of the underlying mathematics and the arrangement of the symbols that are used. Much of that foundational knowledge is lost because we now read and write. But that life knowledge hasn't really changed, just our perception of it. What functional life concept is being expressed when a particular planet or sign is mentioned in the tarot? As the tarot reveals itself to you, it also reveals yourself to you. Next, let's look at the Hebrew letter Resh. Resh means the head and face of man. So let's think about this. Within your head is your brain through which you rule your life, including your thinking about what's being said here. Oh, joy. Also, there are some very important sensory centers there. If you were running a company, you'd be considered the head of the company. You would be its leader. So we're looking at power, authority, and organizing abilities. So that's one thing going on here. The sun is assigned to Resh. The sun in many religions is considered the symbol for God. In the Kabbalah, the great work is considered the operation of the sun. So let me move this down for a little bit. The sun is the symbol for alchemical gold. Here the sun is yellow. Yellow, according to our color chart, signifies mental equilibrium and intellect. Yellow is also alchemical Mercury, which is the superconscious mind of mental activity. Again, alchemical Mercury refers to the symbology of the planet Mercury, and it symbolizes superconsciousness and this part of the mind. Oops, I have to go back. This part of the mind. You are, let's see, on this card, we have direct experience of the solar forces. You are initiated. You have received the transmission. You are no longer looking at nature, but seeing into it. So I'll explain that a little bit. Initiations are talked about in all the mystical schools. And in our mystical school, called the Holy Order of Mans, we have the initiations of illumination and later self-realization. These are given via transmissions. So the person who does them doesn't do them, it goes through that person. And that has to do with preparing the person to receive it, which can take a long time or not, depending on that person's life, and also the person who's doing the work, making sure the person can receive it physically and emotionally. So there are gatekeepers to that, because you're opening up the heart chakra, especially in the self-realization. There's a center near the heart chakra between lower rib cage and your belly button, which has to be opened. And then this opens up the Kundalini force to move and travel up your spine. So it's a transmission. And no one teaches it, but we have it, and it can be done. So it's available. So you are no longer looking at nature, but seeing into it. Since the sun is a significant attribute of this card, let's delve a little deeper. Like an electric current, the radiance of the sun enters our bodies through our sympathetic nervous system, located above and behind our heart. Our blood is supercharged with this solar current, spreading it throughout our bodies. The sun rules the zodiacal sign Leo, which rules the heart, the back, and the spinal column. Key 8, strength, is ruled by Leo. Strength's primary attribute is the law of suggestion. With the use of this law, controlling the subconscious mind through right action and thinking allows you to overcome the wild beast of nature. So, tying this together, the serpent power of the Kundalini moves up the spinal column, igniting the 7 chakras and bringing the illumination. This must be done under safe conditions. And those conditions can be developed by following the directions of the tarot through right action, the modification of your physical body, and listening to your inner teacher. And most important, the life force transmission must be made through the heart, not the mind. Through the heart, the connection is made to the Christ, the Son. And of course, when Jesus came and took on the Christ, he was reminding us of the power of love. So it has to be made through the heart. If it's made through the mind, you think you're God. And you can get a little off base doing that. The sun is exalted in the sign Aries, and this is represented in the tarot by the Emperor. His function is sight, classification, and reason. This tells us that mental imagery, in order to be useful, has to be looked at systematically. In addition, he is the benevolent emperor, and his connection to the life force is through the heart. Regeneration is the function of this card. On the star card, the 8 wavy rays were not developed. They represent the feminine aspects of the life power. So here we see on the sun that the equal development of the masculine sun and the feminine moon forms of energy. So there you have your wavy lines. There are 48 beams distributed about the sun. They are in groups of 3, which express solution, preservation, and dissolution. The classic 3 processes of alchemy. Again, they are in groups of 3, which express solution, preservation, and dissolution. You have to be able to dissolve and create, because there's nothing added to creation and nothing leaves. It's just energy in different forms. So you learn through alchemy to take this energy and make it into a form, and then that form you change and make it into another form. So if you look at a plant, you have this tiny little seed, and you stick it in the ground in the nice fertile earth, and you water it, and it creates and becomes a different form. And then fall comes and the leaves fall off. And it looks different. And at some point, the tree is gone and it's burned for fuel in a fireplace. And nothing's been added. Now it's all of this energy is being released. So express solution, preservation, and dissolution. The classic three processes of alchemy. Taking place here is a physiological as well as a psychological transformation. The chemistry of your body, even your cells, have changed. You are consciously aware at all times that you and the Creator are one. An alchemist once said, "The great work is performed by the sun and moon with the aid of Mercury." This refers to chapter 3 of the Book of Formation, also called the Book of Creation, which in essence says that man uses his willpower, Mercury, to master his surrounding conditions of the sun and the moon. Needed to complete this, though, is more than personal effort. Required is an influx of power from the superconscious level of creation. At this point along the path, you're having conversations with the teacher, the inner self. This is a two-way conversation. It's a dialogue. You're not just going, "Oh, help me do that." No, you and creation are having a two-way conversation, which is really cool. The sun has a face. It's a living force. Our experience of the sun is now at the most intimate level. There are 13 Hebrew yods in the sky around the sun. The number 13 is the value of each of the two Hebrew words, unity and love. This is to say, your current life experience has become an expression of unity and love. The letter Yod means an open hand, a creative hand. It is also the letter of the Hermit card. He depicts the law of response. The guiding light set out to show us the way. Now we have become that guiding light. You are radiating light. When you walk down the street, you're radiating light, whether anybody can see it or not. The ruling planet on the Hermit card is Mercury, another reference to the superconscious mind of mental activity. There are 5 sunflowers along the top of the stone wall. 4 of them face the 2 children. So there you've got your sunflowers, and 4 face the 2 children. 1 faces the sun. This little guy's looking right at the sun. They represent the 5 stages or kingdoms of the development of form since the beginning of creation, and we've talked about this. An illustration of this is on the upper side of the Pythagorean triangle. So the Pythagorean triangle, there's your little right angle, and then there's your hypotenuse, a little further over. Form begins at the mineral stage, then on up to the vegetable, then on to the animal, and then up to the natural man. That's where we are. The 5th stage, the bud facing the sun, this little guy, is spiritual humanity, a place most of us have yet to experience. The 4 sunflowers below the stage of spiritualized humanity face the 2 children. So here they are facing the children. And why is that? The 4 sunflowers are totally dependent on the 2 children for their life because the children represent spiritualized humanity. The fifth sunflower in bud form also represents spiritualized humanity. That sunflower is looking directly at the sun, not the two children, which it is equal to. Rather, it looks above itself. In Kabbalah, this means within, to the sun for life support. So again, the fifth sunflower in bud form also represents spiritualized humanity. That sunflower is looking directly at the sun, not the two children, which it is equal to. Rather, it looks above, in Kabbalah meaning within, to the sun for life support. So it's just another change. The sunflowers rest upon a stone wall. The term stone in Hebrew is spelled E-B-N. Actually, it would be A-B-N, but Alf, then Nu. Translated, it means the Father and Son are one and inseparable. So the forms of life rest on the underlying foundation that God and his creation are one. The stone wall has 5 layers. The 5 layers are a reference to our 5 senses and the experiences we have through them. The sundial, over here on the side, represents time. The two children have their backs to both the wall and the sundial. They are beyond both their physical senses for experience and the concept of time. They're operating on their spiritual senses at this point. The two children are nude, just like Isis on the star key. This expresses that truth is revealed to us once again by the two children. We create the veils that hide the truth from us, as we learned on the deceiver card. Remember that? Yeah, nasty looking character sitting on a half cube. Only ignorance gets in the way. These children, spiritualized humanity, are masters. They are clear and childlike. Their lives and words are simple. The fairy ring under their feet represents the 4th dimension. There you've got the 4th dimension. Spiritualized humanity does not express itself in the same way as natural humanity. Spiritualized humanity lives at the center of manifestation. The children have created this way of living by continuously identifying themselves with the inner self. Just as the rays of the sun are of equal length, the boy and the girl are the same height. She, representing the subconscious mind, is no longer subject to the misconceptions and ignorance directed at her from the conscious mind. The boy, the self-conscious mind, has finally realized, through correct application of the law of suggestion, that there is more than what his physical senses tell him. You have to remember, you have to pull out the sword and make decisions, decide what you're going to have in your life, and that's what the sword does. His certainty is based on the experiences that go beyond his 5 senses. He calls that experience the other way. The first tarot card is called the Fool. He appears to be the fool to the uninitiated and the world that relies solely on the 5 material senses. The girl has been trained to accept the other way, and her left hand gestures. See her left hand here. Her left hand gestures that she is done with what is behind her. She's going back behind her. The boy's right hand faces away from the wall toward us in a gesture of acceptance of what lies before him. They hold hands in unity in their new life as regenerated spiritual humanity. On a final note, I'll reference King James version of the Bible, Mark 10, verses 14 and 15. But when Jesus saw it, he was much displeased and said unto them, Suffer the little children to come unto me, and forbid them not, for of such is the kingdom of God. Verily I say unto you, whosoever shall not receive the kingdom of God as a little child, he shall not enter therein. So, questions about this card? And we may just have time to whiz through the last one. 20. All right. So let's take this over here and go up. And we have one little thing we're going to do in between. Okay. Let's see. See if I can find this. So we have a visualization to the auric egg, which we created last week, and the solar system. This is a very short one, which is good. If you close your eyes. So in our last exercise, visualization 1, we created an egg of light around ourselves. So here, create the egg of white light while sitting relaxed within the ovid space. Now, around the head and from the level of the ears, start a long spiral upward, around and around, opening upward in an ever-enlarging conical shape until it reaches the outer atmosphere of the earth. Because you are in a room with a ceiling and a roof above you, makes no difference. When you are in this state, look up and see yourself move up, knowing that you will return to your sitting position. Again, when you are in this state, look up within yourself with your eyes closed and see yourself move up, knowing that you will return to your sitting position. Observe the Christ light all around you and the orderliness of this solar system. All right, let's take a look at judgment. I think we'll make it. We won't be too judgy. On the previous card, called the Star, we found out that we were now a true receptacle for the one force. In both mind and body, we also gain the ability to control all of the material world around us, but our relationship with the one force was not complete. We still thought of ourselves as separate from it. On this key called Judgment, we are at the tipping point of realizing that completion. The Judgment card is, let's move this up a little bit. The Judgment card is at the bottom of the 3 cards in the 6th column of the tarot tableau. This column is expressed. Let's see if I can find it. So there's your 6th column right here. And this is where we're going. So we'll talk about the 3 cards in this column briefly. Okay, on this key called Judgment, we are at the tipping point of realizing that completion. The Judgment card is at the bottom of the 3 cards in the 6th column of the tarot tableau. This column is an expression of the 6th stage of spiritual unfoldment called realization. The first card at the top of the column is the Lover's key. That key portrays the principle of love, which then expresses itself through the activity taking place on the key below it, called transition. Here, we've visited that. The result of the activity on key 13 is called judgment. So that's the one we're exploring here. Where we now find ourselves. Let's explore how this works. Let's begin with the Lovers. The identity and function of that card is the power to choose and correct discrimination. The letter Zain on this card means sword. The perfect tool need to cut out the old and make room for the new. Applying discrimination in your life allows you to perceive a difference, which in turn gives you the opportunity to make a choice. Yeah, if you know you have choices, if you have no idea that you have any choices, it's a little rough. So that's why working and spending time within and silence within yourself and wondering about objects and consciousness and why do you always have to respond that way? Wondering about these things gives you an opportunity to make a choice. So moving on to the next card called Transition, we find a demonstration of the law of transformation. This key acknowledges the necessity for change and then how to go about it. Life is continuously changing, like it or not, so it's best to get on board and explore what's out there. We fear what we don't know. Death fits that notion quite nicely. We have no idea what's going on after the dissolution of our physical bodies, but the Kabbalah teaches that forms are always changing into other forms. Gee, I wonder what your body will look like when you're done with this body. And then you get to come back to another body at a later time, which will have also changed. The Kabbalah states, dissolution is the secret of the great work. Scientifically, when a form dissolves and breaks down, it releases energy. Something to think about. It's all not so bad. So first, we've learned about choice and discrimination in order to improve our life, then moved on to acknowledging the necessity for change and not to be afraid of it. On the Judgment card, we begin to live with the realization that our personality is just an extension of the personality of our Creator. Yes, our Creator has a personality. This spiritual unfoldment within ourselves is a major change in our lives, and it's not an intellectual change. It's visceral. From this inner realization, we begin to have fourth-dimensional experiences. Using the law of love and the law of transformation, you have arrived at the key called judgment. You now experience the full-blown reality that you are one with the all. The delusion of separateness just dissolves. All your previous efforts of using the various tools in your spiritual toolbox take you to a tipping point, and you're just there. No effort. This is not understanding. This experience permeates your entire body. So let's have this card over and move Judgment over here. We can just fit it. I think this. Okay. This is not understanding. You're just there. It's a very different way of feeling. So this has nothing to do with an intellectual observation. You know where you're going, where you're from. You know where you're from, who you are, and where you're going all at once. You're done. No going back. A door has shut, and there's no one you can explain this to unless they too have had this experience. So let Let's move on to the 4 symbols in the lower right-hand corner of the Judgment card. I like that. That makes it so much easier down here to see how they support what is being taught. Starting with the number 20, it is the letter value of the Hebrew letter Kaf, which is assigned to key 10, Wheel of Fortune. Kaf signifies mental grasp and comprehension. Remember, the shape of the letter looks like a grasping hand. That's down here. On key 10 is the rotating wheel of manifestation, where we found that most of humanity is in the position of the Hermanibus, which is this little guy right here, the red guy, who is halfway up the right side of the wheel with his ears just above the horizon line. This signifies that he is just beginning to hear his inner voice or intuition. On key 20, Judgment, we've completed the section of the wheel holding the yod above the horizon line. We now comprehend our true nature. We now know that we are just an extension of that one will. Here you know that one will, and you realize that it is in and radiates through all manifestation and flows through all activity. It and you are inseparable from all of nature. What others would call miracles become your daily experience. This is no longer the occasional flash of lightning that was expressed in the Tower card. The mode of consciousness of the Judgment card is called perpetual intelligence, as in you live in the perpetual experience of the light and the power, force, and energy of spirit, which has become your world. Let's continue on the number 20, reading it from right to left. 0 is expressing itself through 2. In other words, creation is expressing itself through memory. This is key 0, the fool's inspiration and perception manifesting through the law of key 2, the high priestess. So you have 20 here. Translated, we no longer forget who we are. We are living in the truth with a new consciousness. We can function in the 4th dimension. So I'll say this again. This is key 0, the fool's inspiration and perception manifesting through the law of key 2, the high priestess. Translated, we no longer forget who we are, which is we are stars. Your body is your solar system. And we can function in the 4th dimension, but you want to do it in little bits and pieces because it's wonderful, it's awe-inspiring, but it's a different visceral experience, especially when you're just sitting there and you are walking in it. And it just happens. These things kind of show up in your life from time to time as you've been moving through the initiations of illumination and self-realization. Our soul, which surrounds our spiritual inner self while we live in a human body, has always operated in both the 3rd and 4th dimensions, whether we knew it or not. Our bodies rest, but we never sleep. Ta-da! The Hebrew letter on this card is Shin, the 3rd of the Hebrew mother letters. It looks like 3 flames reaching up from a single source of fire. It is assigned to the element fire. The sound of the letter is shh. Say it out loud. Shin. It will immediately remind you that you use this sound with your index finger to your lips. Shh. Whenever you're trying to tell someone to be quiet, especially in a movie theater. The 4-fold injunction in the study of the great work is know, will, dare, and be silent. The letter Shin corresponds by sound to the final admonition, be silent. This takes us to the next observation. Serpents are recognized as symbols of wisdom. You don't know that they're nearby until they're upon you. They are silent. Sneaky little things, aren't they? Jesus told his disciples to be wise as serpents, thus emphasizing for those that had ears to hear the ancient doctrine of silence. Paul Foster Case explains, the wise waste no time, invite no misconception, expend no energy in vain efforts to tell. When they speak, it is not to tell the secret, but to point the way. Again, the wise waste no time, invite no misconception, expend no energy in vain efforts to tell, because it cannot be explained. When they speak, it is not to tell the secret, but to point the way. You will only know the secret from within yourself. Each of you will hear it differently. The tarot is just pointing the way. As you've been traveling through the tarot cards, you've probably wondered why all the detail and discussion about symbols and planets and the zodiac and numbers and vibration. Do I really need to know all this? It's like a foreign language. It's like peeling an onion that never ends. You will find that when you finish reading about the 22 keys and begin to read the cards again, starting at the Fool, it will make more sense to you. It's a practice. More is revealed to you. With each reading, you're incorporating this wisdom into every cell of your body. Okay, so what's happened is your body is evolving today, right now, as you have placed your focus on something that brings you closer to getting to know your creator. Your creator likes this and comes and gets more to know you. So when you go back to look at the cards again from the beginning, on your own, whether you're listening to the classes or you're just reading this literature or you just sit in front of the cards, you're going to hear more things you haven't heard before. You're going to see more. Everything's the same, but it all looks different and feels different. Let's look further at the letter Shin. It means a tooth. We use our teeth to break down our food in order to digest and make it available for our body's nourishment. Here on this card, our ideas of separation are broken down. Chew on that. I couldn't help myself. Here, our higher consciousness consumes our lower awareness of limitations. Again, here, our higher consciousness consumes our lower awareness of limitations, because you have no limitations. You just think you do. We're done with misery now and forever, nothing less. This is the promise, our covenant with God. Shin is the encompassing flame of realization. It consumes the whole unhappy illusion of lies. This card appears to refer to Judgment Day, when all souls are judged. Judgment is the result of weighing evidence. Look at justice, key 11. Justice is always represented by scales. In ancient Egypt, a scale was used with a person's heart on one plate and the feather of truth on the other. So there's the heart, and there's the feather of truth. Judgment implies estimation or measurement. Paul Foster Case clearly explains this, quote, I love this one. One might say that the great secret answers the question, how much do you weigh? That is to say, We have to see that since all that is real of us is identical with the one thing, our true weight must be the same as its true weight. The consciousness of totality comes in here. You could copy that and look at it before you go to bed at night and say, and wonder about it. Explain this to me, God, explain this. So I'll repeat it. Judgment implies estimation or measurement. One might say that the great secret answers the question, how much do you weigh? That is to say, we have to see that since all that is real of us is identical with the one thing, our true weight must be the same as its true weight. The consciousness of totality comes in here. Once a judgment has been reached, our reasoning activity has come to an end. No more discussion, no more argument for or against. Case closed. On the Lover's card, we began by using the principle of right discrimination, and through the transition card, we cleaned out our house. We put it in order. The transition card is the agency of right discrimination. So here we are at judgment, deciding. What are the consequences of that decision? The word decision is derived from a Latin root meaning to cut. Once again, that sword takes action. The judgment card cuts off forever our connection with the false knowledge of this world. It puts an end to our limitation to the three-dimensional world. It terminates our sense of mortality. The door behind you shuts and you can never go back through it again. You go through realization, a door shuts. You cannot go back. Gabriel is the angel depicted on the key. He summons the dead from their coffins with a blast from his trumpet. He is the archangel of the element of water and of the moon. This brings back the idea relating to the number 20, where creation, the number 0, is expressing itself through memory, the number 2. Remember yourself. You are remembering yourself. All of this is to remember. You're not finding something. You're not aspiring to something. You're just remembering who you are. All of the water shown in the tarot has its source in key 2, the high priestess. The 3 coffins floating on water, and the background is made up of icebergs. Even the sky is blue. When you lean over a body of water, you see your reflection. When you lean over a body of water, you see your reflection. Such a prevalence of water on this card suggests that we are looking at creation reflecting on itself on this card. Archangel Gabriel's name means might of God. He's blowing his trumpet to wake up the 3 figures, the man, woman, and child, from their coffins. This isn't even a subtle suggestion. He's blasting a horn, no less. Your morning alarm clock pales in comparison. Get up now. Our true nature is calling us. The 3 characters are moving out of their 3-dimensional state, but not by their own volition, their own efforts, but under the assistance of Gabriel, the power of creation. He knows that we have never truly forgotten who we really are. On the day of judgment, we are raised up and out of our dreams of mortal existence, and thereby we enter into the 4th dimension in full consciousness. This angel, surrounded by a cloud, is an ancient symbol of the 4th dimension, according to Paul Foster Case. Gabriel displays 2 secret circles. His head is 1 circle and his body the 2nd. A larger circle of cloud surrounds him. His red wings are activity and fire, courage and strength. As on the Lover's card, the white clouds veil the true nature of the self, which is hidden by appearances and deeply embedded in nature. Deeply embedded in nature. The watery stream of consciousness flowing from the High Priestess throughout the tarot deck gives us the sense of time. On this key, we are being called above it. You are going back to timelessness. Remember the Fool card? He was wearing a belt that had the zodiac on it, and it symbolized time. And I said he put a cloak on to protect himself, and he tied time around him. And when he returns, in order to get that cloak off, he has to take off time, the belt. 12 rays of light pierce the clouds. In Hebrew, the number 12 refers to Kether, the crown of primal will in the Tree of Life diagram. So let's look at that. There is Kether. It is the life force revealing itself directly through the cloud of appearances. Unlike the Lover's card, 12 also refers to the zodiac, each sign an expression of that will within the human body. And each sign is designated to a specific area of your body. So here we have the raising up of spirit and body. Gold represents the sun. 7 rays of energy blast out of Gabriel's golden trumpet. The 7 rays are the 7 interior centers called chakras, or whirling spiritual energies. Through these centers, the body is invigorated and healed. The vibrating sound of the trumpet activates them. So I talked to you earlier on the previous card about the rising of the Kundalini force and opening them. And it has to be done safely with a teacher, carefully, because there's nothing separate. Your body and your spirit are not separate. So you can't get carried away and go, oh, I'm going to be spiritual. I'm going to do this and that, and ignore your body, because it has to catch up. Every cell in your body is alive and is your supporting system for being in third dimension. So you may wish to go this way spiritually, but your body is still holding 7 years of old cells in it. So you have to coax it and work it very slowly. And you do this in stages, because you have all these old habits in your body. It's like chewing your nails or something. You don't even know you've got your hand in your mouth, or smoking, or all these little habits you have. And as you change spiritually, your consciousness and the things you want to have new in your life, your body has to catch up. Be kind. Be nice. It's your solar system. Be good to it. Feed it properly. Give it rest and sleep. Especially when you're sleeping, you're not interfering with it growing and evolving. Your mind is shut off, and your body is going, oh, we get a break. Okay, guys, let's regenerate the cells here, get rid of the old, bring in the new. In the background, the flowing water of the stream of consciousness from the High Priestess's robe has been frozen into icebergs. So we're sort of getting this stereo. The illusion of time is gone. The open sea in the foreground that the coffins rest upon is the end of that stream. So that's the little stream there. The end of the stream is judgment, the point of decision. No turning back. This is where we make up our minds. At this point, some people go, not now. I think I'll go to the movies or read a mystery book or do something else for a while and take a break. That's just your body needing to catch up. Don't worry about it. It will. But, coax it. Be sweet to it. You can't storm heaven because you have all this baggage you're taking with you. So you have to enlighten the whole solar system that you carry around. Yep. The 3 stone coffins are floating on the sea. The sea is the great subconscious mind emanating from the high priestess. We can only conclude from this card that all of the entire material world is actually just resting on mind stuff. It's floating on mind stuff. Okay, the 3 coffins appear to be quite solid. They represent the 3-dimensional level of consciousness. The 3 figures are standing, which puts them at right angles to their coffin. And I will once again refer to Paul Case. He's just a master at this. He explains this as an attempt to represent the mathematical definition of the 4th dimension, that it is at right angles to all 3 dimensions of space as we perceive them. Yeah, it's a real different. You're there, but nothing fits the same way. Okay, so let's take a look at the 3 figures. The man is portraying the self-conscious directing mind. The woman is expressing the receptive subconscious mind. The child is a combination of the 2. They even have these back on those hieroglyphs in ancient Egypt. So we know this is a very old teaching. In Egyptian mythology, these 3 were expressed as the family of Osiris, the father, Isis, the mother, and Horus, the child. It's most interesting that the male, with his arms crossed in the traditional posture of Osiris risen, places him in an attitude of passive adoration. Quite interesting. Quite different from when he was in the 3rd dimension. In the 4th dimensional consciousness, his mind becomes completely receptive, for he acknowledges that he does nothing of himself. The crossing of his arms illustrates the negation of any personal contribution to his actions. The woman is actively receiving. Her arms are open like a cup. Her arms lifted up, expressing her perfect reliance on the life source. Since all of manifestation arrives through her, she now creates according to the will of God. The child is looking towards the center of the card. Accordingly, he represents the ability to look within, receiving his information from his developed senses, meaning all the spiritual senses are operational, which can look through the surface of manifestation to its source. This is unlike the report received from just his physical senses. He is functioning from his intuition. His instruction is coming from Key 5, the teacher. Once again, we are looking at figures that are nude. On the star card, Isis is nude because she is revealing truth to those who look at her. Nudity also suggests perfect intimacy. The figures are no longer flesh-colored, they are gray. Gray is the perfect combination of the opposites, white and black. Gray also indicates wisdom. In the Hebrew alphabet, there are 7 letters that are pairs of opposites. Life and death, key 1, that's the magician. Peace and strife, key 2. Wisdom and folly, key 3. Wealth and poverty, key 10. Beauty and ugliness, key 16. And 19, fertility and sterility. Dominion and slavery is key 21. The 3 gray-colored figures show that the forces of the 7 energy centers in the human body have been perfectly coordinated. The 7 rays of the trumpet have had their effect. Finally, let's take a look at Gabriel's banner. Both the banner and the cross are symbols of the number 4. There are also 4 figures in the picture. This 4 is a reference to the Emperor card, which stands for Aries, a fiery sign ruled by Mars. Gabriel's wings are a reference to Mars. The emperor is sovereign reason, which leads to right judgment. Perpetual intelligence is the mode of intelligence of the judgment key. Here we see the true interaction of reason from the emperor and intuition from the teacher. Without correct reasoning, we'll never be able to hear the inner voice of intuition. And for sure, we couldn't possibly hear Gabriel's trumpet call, no matter how loud the blast. The tarot provides you with many tools to use along your hero's journey. Use them. This is not that difficult to implement. Your inner self knows the way. If you try a little every day, it will take care of the rest. Especially when you go to sleep at night and you give it a chance. So, any questions? This is a little overwhelming, I know. But the second or third time through, it gets a whole lot easier. And it's a lot of fun. Absolutely lovely. There you are, in charge of fire, air, earth, and water. In your little bubble of God. So I will stop the share. Let's move these little guys over. And just enjoy being together a little bit before we end our class. And I will say, everyone have a good week. And enjoy that little, the second visualization. I really think it's cool where you get in your light and then you go in a spiral up. Just remember to come back where you left yourself. Or we're going to have to send one of you out there to catch you.
Thank you, Margot.
Lots
for me.
Good night. Thank you.
You're very welcome. For me, it's a lot of fun, and I'm so glad that you're here and enjoying it. And I will be adding some more little exercises as we go.
Nice. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you. And hi, Sue. There you are.
Hi.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.